Welcome. I am your host, Ramonda Jan, the founder of Women Thrive Media, visibility expert, and inspirational speaker. I founded this global community for women so every woman who is starting or running a business can feel like she has found a place to belong. So every woman is empowered to use her voice and share her message with the world. Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I'm so excited to have you back for another amazing episode with one of our experts. Today we're talking about what does it take courage to have productivity, and who else better than our amazing guest, productivity and mindset coach, Majbrit Bøttger. Hi Majbrit, how are you today?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Great to have you. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from Denmark.
Denmark, amazing. Well, today's conversation is going to be super productive as we are talking about productivity, but why does it actually take courage? Now, my amazing guest today is Majbrit Bøttger. She is certified high performance mindset and productivity coach who helps busy leaders and entrepreneurs go from overwhelm to productive action taking, teaching her simple strategies in productivity to help any overloaded individual find balance and sense of accomplishment in their everyday lives. So Majbrit, this is an epic topic. Why productivity is so important for us?
Because if we don't feel like we're contributing, we feel like we don't matter. That is probably the simplest way to put it. And we need to matter. We need to know that we make a difference in the world, in the life of our family, at work. We need to feel like we make a difference, and it matters to people if we're here or not.
Yeah, and in today's world, we're so busy. We're constantly consumed with distractions and so many things to do. And especially as entrepreneurs, the business owners, we tend to take on too much and perhaps not do enough. What's your experience?
Well, when all is said and done, more's been said than done. So that's my experience. That and also from my own experience, it took a while. Even though I have the background I do, and I should know better, when I get into something new, I struggle too. And the point is to pivot fast, to bounce back so you don't get trapped in it and stay there for way too long and lose faith in yourself. But as soon as you're productive, you have energy and you have momentum to keep going. Yeah. And I see it all the time. People go like, say, I just need to learn a little bit more. And to me, that's a red flag, because most likely they don't. Most likely they just need to get going, but I need to learn a little bit more. It tells me there's an insecurity and that is holding them back, and they don't want to put themselves out there to go from comfort zone to growth zone. And they will not be productive. And they would bang their head in the evening saying, yeah, another day I didn't accomplish nothing.
Yeah.
And they can tear themselves down real fast. So
I want to ask you, what has been your experience with product? How did you find this as a niche for you?
Because I was in an overwhelmed place once where everything was chaos and I was just completely overwhelmed. I lost it. I was being paralyzed by it. I just completely froze. I couldn't find anything to. Usually, this is hard to explain. This has become probably a little messy. Before I went down with this stress overwhelm attack that completely left me paralyzed, I was always, not physically, but mentally, I was always someone who found solutions to things. Whenever I faced struggles, I found a solution. Okay, might not be what I thought it would be, but hey, let's make the second best out of it. And all of a sudden I can do that. And it freaked me out. That was scary. So I was just standing in this situation. I had no idea how to get out of it. And that's when you have to find a way to structure your things into little pieces, figure out what's important and what's not. Do you focus on what's going to get you out of here, or are you focusing on what's keeping you here? And to me, at that point, it was the latter. So I was focusing on all the things that I thought was wrong, and that just kept me there. And I just dug the hole deeper for myself. The second I got some sort of a strategy and pinned it out in little bites, I could structure my work mentally and practically, and find out, okay, how can I make a difference for my kids, for myself, for our everyday situation? How can I make it better step by step? And that sort of productivity, just productivity, can be hardcore, do your homework thing, but it can also be mental productivity. How can you lift yourself out of a funk? How can you move on and be better, stronger?
Yeah. I feel like we take on so much because we want to accomplish more. And this usually comes to those who are high achieving, ambitious, perhaps entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, but we end up not accomplishing anything. I mean, what's the first step?
Distraction.
Distractions.
That's what's happening. We live in the world today. We get more information in 10 minutes than they got in a whole year in 1960. In 10 minutes. And our brain have to sort all this out, absorb it, sort it, and figure out what's important, what's not, what do we emotionally relate to, and what do we not. And most of the time, an average person has 70,000 thoughts per day. 80% of those tend to be negative.
Wow.
So we're up against our own human mind, right? And news are the main factor in the negative thinking. And it's also what distracts us the most, like social media and stuff. I realize you cannot be without social media today if you're living in a digital world. You can't. Then you have to be on a mountaintop somewhere. But if you're in a digital world, you have to be on social media. But you can choose how much and how you are on social media. You could put in blocks of time dedicated to social media and then stay off it the rest of the time. At any point, I would advise people to stay away from the news. I haven't watched the news in years. And what happened was I became much happier because I didn't have to sink down into catastrophes and wars and all the depressing stuff that's all over the news. 90% of the news are negative. It's set up to be scary or frightening, or it stir up the negative emotions within us. So to stay away from that is a big help. That's a really easy way to start making a difference in your life.
And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and trust me, if something big happens like the pandemic, I found out, even though I don't watch the news.
I love it. You will find out, believe me. In most cases, you will.
Yeah.
Why does it take courage? I mean, I loved when we were preparing for this podcast, you're like, courage. I said, what's relevant to productivity? You're like, courage. Why courage? It piqued my interest.
It takes courage to be productive in a way that serves you. Because if you're productive with everybody else's fires, you're not being productive. You're just being a servant. And that's not going to help you. It's just going to stress you out. So in order to be productive with what matters to you, like life's work versus busy work, because you can busy yourself out of business in a second flat. So life's work versus busy work is the courage to say no. And the courage to ask for deadlines. Because when people call you up, they always, one, they expect you to reply within 30 seconds. And second, they think that they are the only person in the world you have to serve. Yeah. So we're really good at running around all day, putting out other people's fires. And then we come home and feel like we accomplished nothing because we didn't get to work on our own agenda. So what you need to do is your own work first and then other people's agendas. And that takes courage because you have to learn to say no. Mm-hmm. And Warren Buffett said it. The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Yeah. And they focus on what matters and what is moving them forward. And it's so true what he said. So it takes courage to say no, but also it takes courage to sit down and look at your day. What are you doing? Because you're going to find out you've been doing things the wrong way. And it's not your fault because you did the best you could with what you had at the time. But it's always a little bit tough to figure out that you spent the last 10 years, 2 years, 2 months doing things the wrong way. Because then you're going to hit yourself on the head and say, I should have known better.
Yeah.
So it takes courage to change. All changes take courage. And there will also be people that will try to pull you back. So whenever I say, okay, you call me up and say, can you help me? And say, well, what is your drop dead deadline? And if I don't do that, you're going to give me a false one because that's your preference. So you say, I want this, I need it by 12 tomorrow. And then I would have called you up and said, what is your drop dead deadline? The people's lives are lost. Our reputation is beyond repair. And you and I are both without a job, that deadline. Everything before that is your preference. And I like to accommodate if I can, but I can't prioritize my time out of preferences. So it takes courage to give this to people. But the funny thing is, I've done it so many times and nobody ever got mad at me. They were just like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. And they don't. They don't mean to be jerks. They're good people that just never thought of it because that's how their world is running as well. And sometimes when you want to change things up, some people are going to go with you and support you and help you. And some people are going to try to pull you back into their comfort zone. So there's many degrees of courage that's in place or at play when you want to make changes.
I love that. That's so powerful. What's your drop dead deadline? I've never heard anyone say that.
No,
I'm curious.
But I bet you tried. Somebody called you up and said, I need it tomorrow by noon. And you worked all night. You canceled all your dinner plans and stuff to get it done by noon. And you say, the last piece I need to finish this up is you need to answer this question. And they take 3 weeks to answer that question. And you feel like, that is so rude.
Yeah, exactly. You have so many gems to share, and I feel like, oh my God, we're gonna run out of time before we get to all the gems. And well, for one, I know we have you as a speaker at the Women Thrive Summit, which I'm very excited about. What is your talk at the Women Thrive Summit coming up?
It's gonna be how to be productive in a way that you can actually have life in your confetti in your life.
Confetti in your life, yes. And what is confetti in your life?
Confetti is like this ground joy, this bubbling joy, this let's celebrate life. Also the little stuff, because you have to win so many games before you hold the Super Bowl, right? But nobody counts the little games. They never celebrate the little games. They celebrate when they get the trophy. But it takes a lot to get the trophy. So I think we should be better at celebrating the little wins and pat yourself on the shoulder and say, hey, I may not have won the Nobel Prize today, but I did this. I moved this little piece from here to here. And if you have a battle board, you can actually physically see that you're moving pieces around and you can see your own progress, and that creates momentum and energy. And the thing is, you also always know what to do next.
I love that. Well, we'll get to some of those practical things in just a moment. But before we go there, I want to find out what has been one of your courageous moments in having to be productive and making a change in your life?
That's when I started this company, because I was doing all the work. I decided to go full-time on the company. It's been a side hustle for many, many years, over a decade. And all of a sudden the opportunity arose that I could make it a full-time thing. But then I said, okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to create the website and funnels. And I hired coaches and specialists and experts to help me figure all the technical stuff out. And I got really good at that. Everything behind the scenes. And at some point, one of the coaches pointed out to me, don't you think it's about time you get out there?
Oh.
And I was scared to death. And I was like, this is really stupid because I know my material, right? I know I've been teaching like from 13 years old all the way up to adult top leaders. I've been coaching and teaching them. So I know what I'm talking about. But getting in front of camera, that took me forever and a half. And every time my spouse kind of like pushed me a little bit, say, don't you think it's time to make that online course? It's like, yeah, but I just need a little more education. And I just need a little more so I can hide behind education and stay behind the scenes. That's not going to move your company forward. I can guarantee you it's a really bad strategy for that. And finally, my coach really pushed at me and had me committed to do at least one video module before the next session, 2 weeks further down the line. And I set up this studio in my kitchen. It was during the pandemic, so we had to stay here. So I was setting up the studio. I had Carsten to help me. He's always supportive and cheering me on and stuff. And we set the light. It took almost a day to set up the light and everything for me to be satisfied, of course, because and finally got it. And like, oh, it's been a long day. I think I'm going to shoot it tomorrow. And I went to the next day. And the next day I got up and all of a sudden, all kinds of emergencies emerged on my calendar. Who knew? And I spent like 4 days or so making up important things that would stop me from, so I couldn't do the video. And at some point I was like, pull yourself together. And it dawned on me, okay, I'm standing in my kitchen. There's just me there. If I don't like the video, I can delete it. And nobody will ever know. But it took me that long to get there. It was so terrifying for me to be on screen. And finally I got it. And I called out Carsten in the car and said, I did it. I almost screamed at him. I bet he jumped half a year. And he said like, oh, I'm so proud of you. How good is it? He didn't ask if it was good. He said, how good is it? So I don't know. I don't want to watch it. So now I shot it, but I didn't have the courage to watch it. So I had to wait for him to come home, and he watched it, and he's like, what are you afraid of? Do you know how good this is? And I was like, no, is it? Come watch. I was like, but I went and watched and like, oh, that ain't half bad. And 2 days later, I shot a complete course.
Wow.
So, but that was the struggle about courage and productivity, right? And I think this people can recognize, this was video. It could be any number of things, but I think people can recognize this.
Yeah, it's always like, we have this big thing, we build it up to be this big thing, and we build it in our heads like, oh my God, this is so
huge monster, right? And the longer we wait, the bigger the monster gets.
I totally resonate. There are some things in my business that just complete monsters, and then when you end up sitting down and doing it, wow, it feels so amazing, so rewarding, and actually doesn't take, I wouldn't even say half the time. It takes a small fraction of the time that we thought it's actually going to take.
Yeah, it's all mental, right? So we, and in Navy SEALs, they have a phrase saying, embrace the suck. Meaning, start with that. Start with what you don't want, because then it's off your shoulders. I found that if you have a to-do list, like 10 points on a to-do list, the last 2 or 3 points you push to the next day, and the month after they're still on the list, and you don't do them until you absolutely have to. And then you find out, once you've done it, like you said before, you find out it was not that bad. It wasn't that bad at all. And you go like, I should have done this a long time ago. And not until you actually do the task will you find out how much it weighed on you. Yeah. Because it will weigh you down. It's a constant feeling of guilt in the back of your head.
Oh, I totally relate. Totally. I don't know if I can give up what it is, but oh my God, can I relate to that feeling? Okay, so what are we afraid of?
Well, there's 3 types of fear that stops us in our tracks. Well, the first one is the fear of losing something or missing out. And the second one is the fear of the process. And the third one is the fear of the outcome. And if you take losing 5 kilos as an example. I mean, everybody in modern world knows how to lose 5 kilos. And if you're not, you can Google it and you know in 5 seconds flat. But so why don't they? It's the first one is the fear of missing out on, but they have this mindset that if I want to lose weight, I can't ever again in my entire life eat an ice cream or have a pizza. So they go worst case scenario in 30 seconds. And we tend to jump that way automatically. So they say, I'm not going to miss out on ice cream and pizza forever and the rest of my life. So that can be a stopper. The next one is, then I have to figure out how to make healthy food, and it's expensive. It's inconvenient, and the kids won't like it, and I have to do several dishes and stuff like that. So we make up worst case scenario in 30 seconds again about the process of it, and the outcome is, and then all this struggle, all this hassle, all these problems, and what if I don't lose weight? So, or it doesn't turn out, I'll only lose 3 out of the 5 or whatever it is, but it doesn't turn out the way I planned. But the thing is that once you know there's only these 3 types of fear, it's easy to identify them. So if you find yourself procrastinating on something, take these 3 fears and see which one of them, or which ones, because sometimes it's all of them, is holding you back from even getting started. Sometimes, most of the time, people don't even get started because of these 3. They think about it and they give up before they even get going. And once you identify that, you can flip it 180 and say, okay, what if I'm not losing something? What if I'm gaining something? What if I get new habits that I like even better? What if the hardship of the process is fun? What if it's not a hard struggle, but it's actually fun, educating, and energizing? Because you're doing something new, and new is one of the basic forward-moving drives that human beings have. And what if the outcome is better than expected? What if I lose 7 kilos and not 5? So you can flip them 180. And that sometimes makes it easier to get going, because you have the positive side to it. And you get what you focus on. So if you focus on what you can't, don't have, and don't want, you're attracting exactly that. So it's a good idea to focus on what you can, what you want, and what you do.
Wow, I love that. So it sounds simple, but of course in practice, it's just application, I guess, applying ourselves. And now after this conversation, I can really see why, you say I am performance, mindset, and productivity coach, because it all kind of requires all 3 in order to get to the final outcome, which is being productive and also creating more spaciousness and freedom in your life that gets you to your goals. Because ultimately, I know all of us want to be more successful, more productive, more amazing at what we do, but we just overwhelm ourselves with so much, and hardly surprising in today's world.
It is overwhelming, and that's why you need to be very specific about what is it you want and why, so you make sure you go in the right direction. And productivity is, when you just talk productivity, a lot of people say, okay, it's really tangible for them to understand. I mean, that's sheets, right? And you can fill in whatever, and it makes it easier, and that's a tangible task, and that's why people are focusing on that. But they will not succeed in that if they don't have their mindset right, because they will fill out this piece of paper, the 1-page productivity sheet. They will fill it out every day for the first 3 days, and then something happens that throw them off track a little bit, and they go straight back to old habits. So staying consistent is the hardest thing to do. It's not knowing what to do. It's about staying consistent and actually doing it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much. I wish we could stay here all day, because I would love to quiz you on so much more. But for those of you who are interested in perhaps learning more about productivity and creating more balance in your life and achieving more, because I think it's so important to really reach for our goals and not have all those fears get in the way, I encourage you to go check out our show notes and connect with Majbrit. Send her a little message on social media or on her website to let her know you are here. Majbrit, what is the best way to actually connect with you?
LinkedIn.
Brilliant.
It's my most active place.
Amazing. So go ahead, you go and check out LinkedIn for Majbrit, as well as I know you do short reels on Instagram, which are always fun and engaging, and it gives you just quick tidbits, tips and hacks on how to be more productive. And during the summit, so we have you on the summit in March. So if you're not aware yet, we have Women Thrive Summit, which is our annual women empowerment event that happens every year in March. So it's the third week of March. This year we have it 20th to 24th of March, and it's open to all. To register, you can grab yourself a free spot or a paid ticket. And during this week of the summit, we're going to be covering a lot of things, including productivity, which Majbrit is going to be talking about, business success, growth, finance, visibility, marketing, as well as some other things like confidence building, mindset, and healing from the inside out. So it's a very much holistic approach to business and life. Majbrit, what's the highlight for the summit? What are you expecting? What can we expect?
Oh, you can expect to go out there with a lot of ahas. Hopefully, that's my plan anyway. It's gonna be some of course teaching in there in the segment, but also some exercises to do immediately that can actually, little things that can make a huge difference in your everyday life that you can apply immediately. It doesn't cost anything, and it doesn't take too much of your energy, and you don't have to like flip over your whole world to do it. It's just something you can do straight away that will make a massive impact on you every day.
I love it. And it's so amazing. Like, as long as we have been working together, just your genius advice has been amazing. So here you are today. It's been amazing chatting to you. Confetti to you, Majbrit.
Confetti.
We had to say this, confetti.
Yeah, it's gotta be there.
Of course, I hope at the end of this podcast, you feel like throwing confetti on your goals and dreams and pursuing them. Hopefully today you received a lot of insights and tips on how to be more productive and stop the fear. Go after your dreams. Go after everything that you want. And honestly, courage is the thing that perhaps you'll get to learn more from Majbrit. Majbrit, thank you so much for today's conversation. I look forward to seeing you on the summit.
Oh, me too. And create a magical day.
Thank you. Appreciate it. To all of you, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you on another episode. Take care for now. Did you enjoy this episode? Share it with the world. Make sure to also leave a review and subscribe for future episodes.